Fri-Weigh weight loss chat. Hope we're all good. Hope we're all happy. Hope we're all healthy. Hope we're all well. Hope you've all had a good day yesterday. Oh, yeah, I was on yesterday morning. I wasn't on Facebook or YouTube, though, yesterday morning. I was just on TikTok, so I was in the car. I did my live yesterday in the car. Anyway, good morning, TikTok. Good morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. I hope you are all, just super duper ready for the weekend. It is the weekend. We're flying in at a rapid rate of knots. What we live for, isn't it? Is it? Should we live for the weekend? Maybe not. Maybe so. I do. I love it. I do enjoy my weekends. I love work, but it is nice just having a day or so just to switch off, break from the norm, little break. Very important to have breaks from routine. The weekends give you a break from your Monday to Friday routine. Obviously, some people work shifts. I fully get that. But yeah, the weekend gives you a break from your Monday to Friday routine. And then when you go on, your holidays, that gives you a break, a full break from, every routine. And they're really, really important in life. They're really, really, really important in weight loss. It's something I talk about all the time. How's your week gone? Are you all set up for the weekend for, to continue your weight loss? I think it's very, very important. Let me put my light on, actually. That illuminate things up a little bit. I think it's very, very important that, we work at, most people want a few more calories at the weekend. It really is that simple. And there's no point trying to fight that. What we should do is structure our calories correctly to allow us to do that. So, how has your banking gone during the week? I've had a really good week, actually. Banking the old calories. Where are we at with the calories? I have put, I'd say, the majority of my food in today. So as it stands now, if I ate nothing more than today, and I have put my breakfast, lunch, and dinner into my app, so my breakfast, dinner, and tea is in there, I will have banked 3,165 calories going into the weekend. So I eat, my daily average is 2,600. So if I times that by 5, and then minus 3,165, and then divide that by 5, that means I've averaged under 2,000 calories a day, 1,967 calories a day. So that is, I'm absolutely buzzing with that. I am going to eat more than that today. In fact, let's put the rest of my food in for today, because I have bought some Aldi King cherries. Let me move that into tea today, and I will be absolutely smashing in a punnet of those this evening. So Aldi King cherries, full punnet going in, no messing, 300 grams. And they're my little addiction at the moment. I'm also going to have half a Bear Bells Banana Dream protein bar this evening after my cherries. So that's 259 calories. And then it's just if I have any afternoon snacks today. No idea. I've not got any worth of calories to have. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. But I'm happy to actually consume another 300 calories today, to be honest with you. That means I'll have banked 2,600 going into the weekend. We've got no plans this weekend, so 2,600 calories for the weekend is more than enough calories for the weekend. So we're all good. We're all good. I've not done a top. Let me do a top 5. Leanne's just come on. I'm struggling with my calorie calculating them since coming off Manjaro. I'm struggling. Okay, 2 things there. Leanne, hang fire with me. I will come back and answer that. Let me just do a top 5 on TikTok, so I'm rabbiting on. And I like to do my top 5 first. Callum's in at number 1. John's in at number 2. Michelle's in at number 3. Amy's in at number 4. Bringing up the rear is Ryan. He's in at number 5. Morning, afternoon here in Benidorm, boss. Ryan's on his last day in Benidorm. I think he's had a great time. Flying back this evening. Anyway, you're my top 5 this evening. Stefan's in. Good morning. I'm moving my phone a little bit. I've got white here on my top, and I can't read anyone's comments on my phone. In fact, let me swipe across here. That's easier. Let me scan down. Good morning, Stefan. Donna, good morning. Paula, well, someone got me up at 6:33 to open presents. Oh, happy birthday to Liam. Someone was obviously excited. Hope he has a great day. Mum Bear, good morning. Karen H, good morning. I've been so hungry the last few weeks. Can't wait for my break in a few weeks. Yeah, it can happen. It can just be a combination of a few different bits and pieces. Kelly C, good morning. Peter, good morning. With cherries, do you have to re-weigh the pips? Do you know what? That is a really good question, Matt B, because so basically the king cherries from Aldi, there's 300 grams in a punnet, which is 156 calories. Now, obviously, you don't eat the little stalk bit and you don't eat the pip or seed or whatever you want to call it, the stone, as it were, that's inside. So what you could, if you're going to be really, I don't worry about this, because I'm more than happy. I'd rather be a little bit over than a little bit under. I just track it as 300 grams of cherries, and that is 150 calories, something like that. What you could do, right, is as you're eating your cherries, when you take the stone out of your mouth and you pick the stalk off, you can put that back in the packet and then nip through to the kitchen or whatever, put a bowl on the scales, empty the stalks and stones into a bowl and weigh them, and then deduct those off, because the 300 grams of weight will include everything, even though you don't eat everything. But I assume that the calories that are calculated in a cherry just include the edible part. So in all honesty, I really couldn't be bothered to that, because the stone and the stalks might weigh 25 grams or something like that. You're only going to be knocking off, I don't know, if you were going to do that, 20 calories. And like I say, the calories, I think, in a cherry will just include the edible bit, similar to, and again, you don't need to be that pedantic. So I wouldn't be doing that. I would just track it as, if I eat a full punnet of cherries, the 300 grams, I've eaten a full punnet of cherries, I weigh an apple. Stick it on the scales, and it might come in at 120 grams. I don't then eat it and then weigh the core and deduct that off. I just track it as 120 grams. Does that kind of make sense? Morning, mate. 5 a.m. here. Woke up a bit early, went to sleep about 10ish last night after that travelling. Pete, good morning. Pete is in Mexico. I did say to Pete, if anyone ever goes to Mexico, if you fly with TUI, well, most airlines, I think, will do this when you fly to the Caribbean. You fly at like 10:30 in the morning, and you actually land in Mexico at about 2:30 in the afternoon. So although it's a 10-hour flight, because they're 6 hours behind, you actually only lose out on 4 hours. When you come home, you lose a night, because you fly at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you land at about 8 o'clock the next morning. And I did say to Pete, the best thing you do is just try and stay awake. We try and do till about 11, because you fall asleep at 10, you will wake up at 5, because that's it. But 5's all right. 5's not bad, especially when it's like 11 a.m. here. So you've done all right there, Pete. And your body will, I think you've gone for 2 weeks anyway, so your body will adjust a little bit. The jet lag coming home is a bit of a kick in the teeth. But you'll be all good, mate. Go out for a nice walk. It'll be plenty hot enough this time of day. And I hope you enjoyed your first day, mate. I hope it was a belter. Just making myself some beans and egg on toast. Oh, absolutely great breakfast, or great dinner. Beans, egg on toast. Lovely. On new check, it says cherries weight with stone. Yeah, so I assume that's the same with the nutritional label on the packet. It will include the stone weight in there anyway, Boss, I've stopped tracking and put £9 on. I need to sort my act out. I've started to track from this morning. Sometimes it can just be a bit of a wake-up call, Colin. If you have stopped tracking, if we go through a period of weight gain, which can happen on our weight loss journey, we do need to accept that, a chunk of that gain, same as if you go on holiday or something like that, it will be water weight, it will be food weight. So get back to tracking, Colin. Get back to doing what we do, and it'll soon come off. It'll soon come off. And you had room to gain a little bit back anyway, because I think you've gone just a little bit too far with it, because you've got to remember, you've still got your loose skin in there, and this, that, and the other, and that can weigh a certain amount of weight. So, I wouldn't panic. Let's get back to doing what we do. So you need to do. Get back to doing what we need to do. All right, let's have a look at Leanne here. I'm really struggling with my calories, calculating them. Since coming off Manjaro, I'm struggling. All right. So if anyone is struggling with calculating their calories, just join my community, right? You don't need to come on my full one-to-one plan to get a calorie breakdown from me. If you head into my TikTok profile, my Facebook page, my YouTube page, click on my link tree. There's a little shop in there now, I'll show you. I can't. I can show you actually on Facebook, YouTube. I'll try and have a look on my iPad, and I can spin it round. But basically, if you are on, let me just swipe that way. If you are on TikTok and you click on my link tree, this is what my link tree looks like now. So first time my link tree is an inquiry form here. And then you've basically got my one-to-one plan, my yearly plan, and my community all highlighted here for you. So dead simple. You click on that. You can join my one-to-one plan. You can join my yearly plan. So it's $29.99 sign up one-to-one, and then $29.99 a month. You can pay £325 upfront one-off payment to come and get weight loss coach with me for a year. So there's no direct debit, no like that. It's a one-off payment, and you get my support for an entire year for £325. You can click on this one here and join my community. Use code WELCOME in the community, and you get the community for half price. So if you click on there, and it will tell you in the description there. First month just £5 using code WELCOME at checkout. All right. So if you join the community, cost you £5 for your first month. There's no contract. You can cancel any time, so you don't need to stay in if you don't want to. I will give you a full calorie breakdown. Now, obviously, Leanne's struggling since coming off Mounjaro. And why Leanne's struggling, and this is why anyone would struggle coming off Mounjaro, because while they've been using the tool that is Mounjaro to help control their appetite, they've probably relied on it a bit too much. And it is something that we need to be wary about. You know, what we have to understand with Mounjaro is a tool to help us do what we should be doing anyway. Should never be used to just do the job for us, right? So if you're currently on Mounjaro, you should still be feeling like, certainly towards the end of the week when you're getting ready for your next jab, you should certainly be feeling like a lot less suppression. You should then be having, the last 2-3 days of the week, you should be having to use your own willpower to control your calories a fair bit. When you're on Mounjaro, you should still be calculating. You should, it's still all about energy balance. Yes, you've got this little tool going in that's helping you control your calories more, but it is still about controlling your calories, being accountable, understanding energy balance, understanding how many calories you should be eating, tracking those calories. And then when you come off Mounjaro, you should also, while you're on Mounjaro, still be working on high protein diet, high fiber diet, trying to suppress your own appetite naturally, as well as using a medication to suppress your appetite. Right? And then when you're on Mounjaro, I was saying this yesterday, I was talking to a friend of mine in the gym who's a dietitian for the NHS. And he's at a point now where he's got clients that he's prescribed and put them onto Mounjaro. And he's got a couple of clients now and he's weaning them off it, and he's doing some case studies, because he says there's no data at the moment about people being on it because it's so new. There's very limited data on people coming on Mounjaro, getting to their goal weight, right? And now it's a case of weeding them off it. And I sort of said to him, well, in my eyes, when people are moving up the doses of the medication, as some people are moving up too quickly. But I said, really, what we should be doing is moving up as the suppression, where basically it's not being a tool anymore. And he was like, yeah, correct. He said, so he's a big advocate that, he actually said yesterday, he said the data shows really most people should be able to stay on each dose for about 3 months. So 2.5 milligrams should last you for a month. He said, don't be wrong, it's a little bit subjective. It's different strokes for different folks. But he was sort of saying about 3 months. So really, you should only go from 2.5 up to 10 milligram after 12 months. He said there's no need to be every 4 weeks, 5-6 weeks. And he said that's what he encourages a lot. I was like, oh, that was interesting, because I said that's kind of I said I've got some clients now that started taking 2.5 milligrams just after Christmas, and are actually still on it, and it's still working for them. So he said, oh yeah, he said you don't have to, but he said, you shouldn't really be looking to move up unless every 3 months. So I was like, that was interesting. And then he said, yeah, and then he said, what we're trying to find out now is someone's been on 10 milligram and then they moved down to 7.5. is there anything in there at all? So he said that. So anyway, I said this to him. I'm going to have a meeting with him. Like, we're going to meet up and have a bit of a chat and a natter about it, because I'm really interested in learning. Like I say, he's writing case studies on it for the NHS at the moment. So yeah, that'll be really, really interesting. So anyway, Len says calories on Manjaro was 1300. It's too low. Right? If anyone's taking Manjaro now and you're eating under 1500, you're taking too much of it. You don't need to. Like I say, Manjaro should just be a little helping hand. It should just be that guide to help you cross the road. It should be, it shouldn't be doing the job for you. So if you're currently, let's say I work out your calories, or I work out your calorie allowance for a pound a week fat loss. And let's say your calories are 1800, right, a day, right? And you can't naturally control your calories consistently to 1800 a day. You take it, MJ, your calories shouldn't drop, right? Or they shouldn't be dropping. If your healthy, sustainable calorie allowance is 1800 a day, and suddenly on Manjaro you're struggling to eat 1300 a day, it's too low. You're starving yourself. It's over restrictive. You're not going to be getting, not only are you not going to be getting in the macros and micronutrients that your body needs to function properly, you're over restricting yourself. And then when you come off the tool, it's just going to be even harder to control your calories. So like I say, your Manjaro should be a little helping hand. It should be, when you've got young children, right, and you're at a busy road and you're going to cross the road, you will hold their hand. You don't pick them up and walk across the road. You hold their hand and you tell them, look right, look left, look right again, right? You teach them like the Green Cross Code and you hold their hand. They still walk across the road. They still look left and right themselves, but you're holding their hand and you're giving them a little bit of guidance. That is what MJ should be doing. Whereas if you're just taking so much MJ, you're eating 1200 calories a day, you never feel hungry. You even, on a Monday, you don't feel hunger whatsoever. When it gets to Sunday and you're ready for your next jab, you're still like, yeah, I'm not that hungry. You're taking too much of it. You're taking too much of it. And that is your parents, when you're crossing a busy road, that's them picking you up and hugging you and walking you across the road, because they're not teaching you anything. Right? The kids that you just hold their hand and you tell them to look left, look right, look left again, teaching the Green Cross Code, make them check their bits and pieces, right? Those are the kids in the future that when they cross the road on their own, they're not going to get run over, right? But the kids that where the parents body collar them and shield them and right, we've got a busy main road and I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to carry you across the main road and put you down. And they're not teaching them to look left, look right, and all this, that, and the other. Those are the ones that when they're out there and they've got to cross the road on their own, they're just like, I'll just cross the road, right? Does that kind of work? Can you think of it like that? So, came off and joined the gym. Now I'm confused with calories. Not sure how many I'm supposed to be eating. So, obviously, Manjaro Leanne has allowed you to lose weight. She said she's lost 3 stone in 8 months off the scales, but slowly going up. Not sure if it's muscle. It's not muscle. Muscle, don't get me wrong. If you're going to the gym and you're training, can you build muscle in the gym? Of course you can. But even if you're training, Leanne, it's absolutely amazing. You're smashing your protein in. You're progressively overloading the muscles. You're training to failure. You'll struggle to gain a pound of muscle a month. So if you go to the gym over 3 months, you might gain 3 pounds of muscle. So if the scales have gone up 6 or 7 pounds in 3 months, we could accept, I don't know how good your training is, that 2 to 3 pounds of that is muscle, but the rest of it could be body fat, And this is the thing. So, Leanne, it really is that simple. If you're not on MJ anymore, and like I say, anyone that's like, yeah, my healthy, sustainable calories, should be 1800 a day. Now I'm on Manjaro, I'm eating 1200 a day. Too much. It should help you stick to what your calories are. It shouldn't be overtaking it. So, Leanne, come join my community. You're on Facebook. Go into my Facebook page, click on my link tree. It's in there. Sign up to the community. It's £5 using code WELCOME. You get a month's access to the community and you'll get a full calorie breakdown from me. So you'll know the calories that you should be on. It's then your job to stick to those calories, right? And your weight loss will kick back in. I don't know if you're just working on maintaining now or if you still want to lose a bit more, but you want to do it naturally rather than using the medication. I don't know. Let me know when you sign up, if you sign up, And there's always help out there. You've just got to join and get the help, yeah? Right, let me scan up and see what I've listed. I've been losing 1 to 2 pounds weekly, sticking to the same thing weekly, but past 2 weeks not budged. I've had this loads recently. Do you know why I've had this loads recently? Where loads of people are like, scales haven't moved for a couple of weeks, scales haven't moved for a few weeks. I think we're getting to that real pivotal point after Christmas. After Christmas, motivation's dead high, right? Not a lot going on. The weather's rubbish. And I literally and everything ticks over and the losses are great. And when we get to this time of year, we are a bit more social. There's a bit more going on in life. You know, that motivation that was high after the overindulgence of Christmas isn't quite there anymore. And things just start to slip a little bit. But we never look into weight loss plateaus or even weight loss gains, right? So you might be like, I've lost consistently for 4 months. Weighed, last week and I've gained a pound. Weighed this week and I've gained another pound. It's still too soon because the scales don't show just fat loss or gain, right? They also show they show a gain of clothes. You could be weighing in different clothes, whatever. But generally, what causes the scales to fluctuate is water weight, food weight, water retention, and fat, the loss and gain of all those things. So, is it quite conceivable that you could be in a calorie deficit perfectly and you lose a pound of body fat, but then for whatever reason you gain 2 pounds of water retention? Yeah, and that'll show a pound gain on the scales, right? The following week, you're in a calorie deficit and you lose a pound of body fat, right? So in the last 2 weeks, you've lost 2 pounds of body fat. The previous week, you gained 2 pounds of water retention, and that water retention is still knocking about, right? So this week, you don't maintain, you lose a pound. So you gained one, but now you're like, well, I'm still the same weight as I was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, because these are short-term fluctuations that you're going to see weighing over short periods of time. Now, when we get into more long-term data, so if you weigh, what are we on now? We're like mid-June, aren't we? If you're currently weighing the same now as you were mid-May, or maybe a little bit earlier, that's been 4 or 5 weeks. Now, don't get me wrong, in that time, you might have lost, you might have gained, you might have lost, you might have gained. But over the space of that time, you've averaged you're in a calorie maintenance, right? And when we're at 4 weeks or more, that is when we delve in. So 4 weeks or less, we can't determine whether you're still in a calorie maintenance or not, because over that short period of time. But if maintains happen for more than 4 weeks, if maintains happen for more than 4 weeks, we can sort of say maybe things are slipping here. You're not doing what you were doing 2-3 months ago. If maintains or gains happen for 6 weeks or more, you've definitely changed what you're doing. It's nothing that needs changing. You don't need to change your calories. You need to change what you're doing. I've said this a lot recently. Your body does not stop you losing weight. And this is what a lot of people think, like, oh, my body's adapted to the diet, my calories are. No, your body does not stop you losing weight. You stop your body losing weight. That's all we need to look at. So, if you're currently the same weight now or heavier than you were from the 1st of May, the beginning of May, that's 6 weeks in, you've changed what you were doing. So if you were consistently losing January, February, March, April, and then really the last 6 weeks you've either been consistently maintaining or gaining, you've gone from being in a calorie deficit to being in a calorie maintenance, possibly slipping into a calorie surplus. So, but 2 weeks is too soon, right? 2 weeks, and people do this. They might weigh themselves weekly and they might lose 6 weeks in a row. Loss. And then suddenly they have that 1 week where they maintain. And they're like, I've done everything right. I've not changed anything. And I've maintained. Right, now I'll drop my calories from 1900 to 1700. Right? And it's like, you don't go within 6-7 weeks from being in a calorie deficit to being in a calorie maintenance. It just doesn't work like that. So 2 weeks, it's me. Don't worry about it. Crack on, yeah, and keep going. And only when it's 4 weeks or more would we maybe start to have a delve in. If it goes 6 weeks or more, that's when we might go, you've changed something here. Something's not being. You're not doing what you were doing. Why? Right? And then we have to find out the answer. There's always an answer. Just got to find it. Thank you, not a problem at all. How do you know you're not losing muscle mass? you don't really lose much. Like, don't get me wrong. Some people might jump on this and go, no, and this is why I give you a protein goal. This is why. So basically, we can go anabolic or catabolic. And anabolic means you increase your overall mass. Catabolic means you decrease your overall mass. So when we go into a calorie deficit, we can slip into what's called a catabolic state, which is basically, yes, the majority of the weight we're going to lose is body fat, but we also might lose a bit of muscle mass. Now, it all depends on who you are, right? It depends on age, weight. There's a few different bits and pieces. It also depends on how much muscle mass you are carrying. So if you've got like a bodybuilder that's trained for years and carries great big muscles everywhere, right? And they go into a calorie deficit, they can go catabolic quite severely. And this abnormal amount of muscle that they're carrying on their body, we can lose. Really, if you're just an average person, or even if you're someone that does go to the gym a couple of 2-3 times a week and you carry a bit more muscle mass than normal, going into a calorie deficit, right? You might lose a smidge, but you're not going to lose anything ridiculous. That's going to, you get people go, oh, it'll crash your metabolism. Less muscle mass means less calorie. That is true, but I think people like to put the frighteners on. And a lot of people put the frighteners on because, like, but I've got the perfect plan where you won't lose any muscle mass. So you don't need, if you're in a calorie deficit, there is a chance you'll lose some muscle mass, right? But are you going to lose muscle mass to the point where it's going to be detrimental to your metabolism? It's going to massively slow your calorie burn down. It's going to massively decrease the strength in your body. No, right? Like your average skeletal muscle, it might drop a little bit. And if you are worried about that, then eat I promote a high protein diet to all my clients, right? And don't get me wrong, when it comes to preserving muscle or building muscle, I don't really get wrapped up in what's called the bioavailability of protein. So what the bioavailability of protein is, how much protein your body can take and use for, building muscle, repairing muscle. The main reason why I promote a high protein diet on a weight loss journey is to slow down the digestion of food. It keeps us fuller for longer. It's very, very satiating. Now, don't get me wrong. There's so many people that jump on board and go, oh, it's got pea protein in it. It's rubbish protein. Actually, look, protein's protein at the end of the day. Now, don't get me wrong. We want to tick off. We have 9 essential amino acids, and that's called complete protein. And that is things like dairy, and chicken, and eggs. They're complete proteins. Protein that we get from plants isn't a complete protein, but it is still protein and it can be used alongside getting in. But, as long as you're eating some eggs and you eat some yogurt and you eat some chicken and you eat some beef, and then you're also getting some protein in from broccoli, or you're getting the protein will do the job for what you need, right? So, now don't get me wrong. If you are vegetarian, you can eat yogurt. Protein in dairy is one of the most bioavailable proteins. It's probably one of the best things we can have. So if you're having a whey shake once a day and you're having some yogurt and you're eating eggs, you're all good. If you are plant-based, that is a bit trickier. But are there people out there that are plant-based that have reasonable amounts of muscle? Of course there are, because it might not be quite as effective as dairy or meat or fish, but it still will do the job, just not quite as effectively, right? But unless you're trying to be some absolutely ridiculous hench bodybuilder, you don't need to panic about it that much, So you don't need to panic about losing muscle mass. If you're not going to lose you're not going to lose anything that's going to be detrimental to your health, but you could lose some. But if you follow me, for example, if you're on plan with me, or even if you just follow my advice and you try and work on having a higher protein diet to help fill you up on a weight loss journey, then that increase in protein that you're putting into your body will help protect the muscle mass you currently have. And if you have a high protein diet and go to the gym and do some resistance training while in a calorie, you can actually build muscle, right? You can build muscle in a calorie deficit. So it's not something you need to overall panic about. What is the lowest calorie deficit that is still healthy, along with tracking nutrition? What is the lowest calorie deficit? Well, I mean, eating 1 calorie under under your calorie. So we have a calorie maintenance. That's the amount of calories we burn. You can look at it daily, weekly, monthly. I tend to look at it weekly. But basically, let's talk daily. If you burn 2,500 calories in a day and you eat 2,499 calories in a day, you're 1 calorie under your maintenance. That's a calorie deficit. Now, it will take you years and years and years to even lose a pound of body fat in that size of deficit, but you're still in a calorie deficit. Now, I think what you mean now is, what is the biggest calorie deficit that I could put myself in where I can still be healthy and get like my nutrients in? I would say for most people, the biggest calorie deficit they want to put themselves in is 1,000 calories a day, and I would want at least 70% of that deficit to be created through movement, unless you are very, very heavy. Now, again, it's quite subjective to the individual. I'm currently about 18 and a half stone, and I burn 2,500 calories a day as my metabolism. And that's what we need to look at, really. If anyone eats their metabolism, right, and creates their deficit through movement, which is what I do. So I actually go, so my metabolism is 2,500 calories a day. I burn about 3,500 calories a day, and I average between 2,500 and 2,006. So I always eat my metabolism. I burn on average about 1,000 calories a day through steps and exercise, and that's the deficit I'm putting myself in at the moment. So as long as you're eating your metabolism and you're getting, a good bit of meat, fish, fruits, veggies, low-fat dairies into your diet, your nutrition is going to be very, very good, right? So, and that is the key. Again, it's a little bit subjective. This isn't a necessity if you are very, very heavy, and I do work with a lot of obese to morbidly obese people. But for most people, I would say anyone that's under 18 stone, if you always eat your metabolism, right, and create your deficit, metabolism minimum, if you can eat above your metabolism, the more optimal that is for fat loss, right? Eating above your metabolism. So let's say your metabolism is 1,800 calories a day and you burn 2,500 calories a day, and you go into a 500 calorie a day deficit, so you eat 2,000 calories a day. You're eating 200 calories more than the minimum calories your body needs. And if that is the case, your body then, even if you are healthy body fat levels, it will be more accepting to use any body fat you have stored as excess energy. Yeah, does that kind of, you don't need to get too complicated into it, but at the end of the day, when anyone signs up to my community or joins my one-to-one plan, they get a full calorie breakdown. They don't just get random numbers, right? And they will get a metabolism. So they will know their metabolism. And a lot of people, if I pull up some calorie deficits that I've worked out recently, let's have a scan through here. Right. So this is a recent calorie deficit I worked out. This client's 38 years of age. They only weigh 140 pounds, right? So they're not very heavy at all. They're like just over 10 stone, but they want to lose some body fat. And I always check to make sure that they're in a healthy range for the BMI scale. And that kind of covers my back, as it were. But this client that's 140 pounds, 167 centimeters tall, they don't do any exercise, but they average about 15,000 steps a day. Their metabolism is 1,640 calories a day. Their calorie allowance is 1,800. So I've got them 160 calories above their metabolism. So although they don't really have any excess body fat in their body will use fat stores that they have got to make up the deficit, because they are getting more than enough calories to cover the basics that the body needs. Yeah. Let's have a look at someone else. Let's pull up another one. Another calorie allowance. So I've got a client here, 50 years of age, 228 pounds, 160 centimeters tall. They are female. They do exercise session a week. They average 7,000 to 8,000 steps a day. Their metabolism is 1,757 calories. Their calorie allowance is 1,852. So I've got their calorie deficit is 100 calories more than their metabolism. Now, at 228 pounds at 106 centimeters, they do have excess body fat, which the body will be quite happy to use to make up the caloric deficit that I'm putting them in. But again, because their calories are 100, that will really optimize. There'll be absolutely no chance of any sort of metabolic adaptation or the body panicking that it's not getting enough energy to do the basics, as it were. Now, like I say, if you're morbidly obese, that doesn't, or top end obese, you don't need to worry about that. If you're currently 30 stone, your metabolism might be 4,000 calories a day. You don't need to, you've got that much excess body fat in your system that even if you ate 1,000 calories a day, which is 3,000 under your metabolism, your body will be quite happy to use that excess energy to make up that deficit. So it is a little bit subjective depending on where you're at, what your weight is. But that's why it's important to use a coach that knows what they're flipping talking about. Because, I had a guy sign up. He's come on plan with me. He starts on Monday. His previous coach had him on like 1,400 calories a day. That's way too restrictive. It's not sustainable, but it's unhealthy, right? And it's not going to optimize fat loss because there is a chance. Don't get me wrong. He has a weight issue. Yes, he has excess body fat. And if we have what the body classes excess body fat, it's always going to be happy to use that. But there is still chances, if you get someone that might have 30% body fat, which is excess body fat, but they crash diet to a point where they're eating 600-700 calories a day, the body could go into a little bit of a safe mode. Not saying it would, but it could do. But we don't want let's not even put our bodies in that situation. Let's put our bodies in a situation where you're really consistently in a calorie deficit and your body is more than happy to just use excess body fat for energy and metabolize body fat. Can you do a post on that again to add to our group? Lots will benefit from pulling that up when we need. Karen, what do you want me to do a post on? I talk about that many things in that short. Just WhatsApp me. And that's the same with anyone, guys. If you are on plan or even in my community, even if you're a member of my community, you can't directly WhatsApp me for help because that's part of the one-to-one plan. And why I say you can't directly WhatsApp help me, because I can't dedicate extra time to everyone. I can only really dedicate it. I've only got enough time to dedicate to people that are on plan. So obviously, there's over 400 people in my community. I can't have all those messaging because it is just me, right? And that's why you pay £9.99 a month. And if you do want to message me directly, then it'll upgrade to the one-to-one plan. It's only £29.99 a month, and then you can. But any of you, whether you're on plan with me in the community, if you want me to do any content, whether that's maybe a bit more longer format, whether I'm covering it in a weight loss coaching live, or it's just a short format one that I might do on Reels or TikTok, drop me a message and say, "Hi Neil, can you do a bit of content on this? Because I'm struggling." "Hi Neil, can you do it?" Yeah, because when I post content out, it helps the majority of people, So I'm happy to identify. Right, let me have a look. Would you classify me as overweight rather than obese? I'm 60 pounds from target. Stefan, I'm going to be totally honest with you. You would still be classed as obese. Yeah, you would. I think for your current height. Let me just check. Right, and again, I'm not saying that, we need to know where we're at. And I'm not talking about, let me just have a, 60 pounds from target is over 4 stone. What's your height? Let me have a look at your height. 180. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not basing this on the BMI scale, but let's just whack your figures into the BMI scale. BMI scale, we've got to take with a pinch of salt. Of course we have. But it is, if we take it with a pinch of salt and we take it with a bit of context and we take it with a little bit of background and knowledge, we can, let me just 270 divided by 2.2. And don't get me wrong, some people, according to the BMI scale, will always be classed as obese. I kind of hover around the overweight obese category for the BMI. My BMI is about 30, right? But the taller we are. So what we need to do with the BMI scale is we need to look at like averages. So the BMI scale is based for males at 5'10", right? So if you're 5'10", 5'11", maybe knocking on 6 foot, I'm 6'5", and the further we go away, so likewise it can work the other way as well. So the average height of the BMI scale for males is 5'10". If you're currently 5'4", 5'5", it becomes less irrelevant. So, Stefan, your BMI is currently 38. So, yeah, I would say, and like, don't get me wrong, if you get your BMI down to bottom end of what the BMI class is obese, I probably personally myself. So, if you can get anywhere 30, right, 31, the BMI, because you're not, I know you're not the tallest person in the world, but you're not short. You're above, you're above average height for that 5'10". 70 times 2.54. So you're just above average height for the BMI. Average height for a woman's 5'4". He's 5'4" on the BMI. What all is included in the one-to-one plan? So in my one-to-one plan, you get a full plan to follow. You get regular check-ins with me, so you send your details over at regular periods. I put them into a progress sheet, and then I give you feedback and advice and help on how your results are doing. Don't get me wrong. If you follow my plan word for word and everything's going great and you consistently lose on the scales, there's not a lot for me to do. You make my job very easy. Well, I've made my own job very easy by making my plan very straightforward to follow. And that's what happens with the majority of my clients. Don't get me wrong. I have certain clients that do great and then they start. I have certain clients that struggle and then they do great. It always changes around. But yeah, you get regular check-ins with me. You can subscribe. So you can WhatsApp me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in between check-ins. If you need me for whatever reason, so you can just message me and get in touch with me. And if you need any advice, I have clients that they might go out for a meal and they don't know how to track the calories, so they'll take a picture of what they're having and they'll send it to me, and I'll help them understand about that. You might just ask me about, I'm going out for tea tonight, or there's all sorts of reasons, or I'm just really struggling this week with hunger. Is there anything you can, you can just WhatsApp me. I'm just always there for you as a little shoulder to lean on. As part of the plan subscription as well, then you also get access to my community. And in the community, we do regular Zoom sessions. There's over 400 people in the community that you can sort of vibe off. And we've got a WhatsApp community with a chit chat group, which is just a social group, so you can mix and chat with people. You can talk about pretty much what you want. We've then got a recipes and a food group. We've got a weight loss Q&A group. We've got all sorts. It's just for $29.99. I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I think it's very worthwhile. I think it's a great value. And ask on here, a lot of people that come on the TikTok lives are part of the community or part of the one-to-one plan. So those are the ones that'll tell you more than me, because you're going to go, well, you're bound to tell me it's really good. But yeah, Stefan, I think if you lose that £60. I think we definitely class you as overweight rather than obese. But I think at the moment you're still sat up there a little bit. But you're doing great. That doesn't take anything away. The recipe group is amazing. It's very, very good. Yeah, every day there's constantly pictures and photos. This is what I've had for tea. These are new foods that I've found. People putting in recipes. Oh, how did you make that? This is that. It's a really good. That is a really, really good. My daughter's thinking of having the slimming injection. What's your thoughts on it? So if anyone wants to know my thoughts on Mounjaro, I have done a podcast on it. I think it's episode 47 or 48 of the podcast. My views haven't really changed since doing that podcast. If they ever do change, I'll do an updated one. And I might do an updated one on Mounjaro anyway. And I'll tell you why I might do an updated one on Mounjaro, because that podcast that I recorded about Mounjaro, let me just have a little look and see what date it was. So go and view the podcast, have a look through, have a watch or listen of it. It's on every format. There's links in my link tree to my podcast. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's on Amazon. You can have it on your car, you can have it on at home, wherever you want it. Let me just see what the date was, and I'll tell you why I might do an updated one on Mounjaro. Where is it? Everything you need to know. Oh yeah, it is episode 48. Can I see a date of when I put that on? I don't know if yeah. So I published that on the 14th of February, 2025. Around that time, a lot of clients we starting to use it. So I coach about 20 people now, one-to-one, that are on the weight loss injection. Some of you might be like, well, why do you need coaching if you still need to be doing what we need to do? Like I say, it's just a little helping hand. Is my job. And 1.3 million people in the UK are on it. And it doesn't surprise me. Now, it's only a very tiny fraction that, because there's 30 million obese people. There's 80 million people in the UK, and it is thought around 30 million of those are currently have a weight issue, and around there's currently 80 million people with weight issues in the UK, and it is thought about 25% are obese or worse, right? And they would definitely qualify for Mounjaro. So 25% is 20 million. So we are literally like less than 5% of the overweight. So it feels like everyone's on Mounjaro at the moment. They're not. It's less than 5% of who's obese that's on it. So it's still quite a small percentage of people that are on it. And you know, it's a helping hand. And what we are going to start seeing is, as people do come off it, this is when the real data is going to come out about it. How many people, when they come off it, maintain the losses or carry on the losses? You know, this is the big thing. So yeah, so with the one-to-one plan, there's loads included. If you just want to touch base with me, again, TikTok profile, Facebook page, YouTube channel, just click on my link tree. The first tab in my link tree is an inquiry form. So you can just ping over an inquiry form. Like, hi Neil, seen you on TikTok, seen you on Facebook, seen you on YouTube. I'm interested in coming on your one-to-one plan. Can you send me the details directly, and I'll send you everything, and then you can email me any questions that you might have. If you're sat there going, $29.99, that is a bargain. I've watched you for a few months now. I love the way you address weight loss, and yeah, I think you definitely do me you definitely be a helping hand with me on my journey. Then come get signed up. My next start date is a week on Monday, and then there's no start dates till about mid-July. I'm going away for a week, and then the week I come back, life's always a bit hectic, so I'm not going to write plans up for a couple of weeks. So if you want to get going on my one-to-one plan, you've got till Wednesday night next week to get signed up. And then any sign-ups after Wednesday next week, your start date will be, I think, the 14th of July. Yeah, so if you want to get going before then, if you want to get going a week on Monday, have you ever thought about surgery for loose skin? No, hey, I'm genuinely intrigued. So I've had a little bit done. I've had my chest done, and I've had a fleur-de-lis abdominoplasty. So the front loose skin on my stomach I've had done. I've recently put some pictures on my Instagram and Facebook page where I've got my top off, so you can see my scars. I've basically got a cross that runs from about here down to my groin area, and then you can't really see the scars across underneath my chest. I don't think you might be able to actually. Other than that, I've not had any other surgeries done. So you can see I've got waggles on my arms. Yeah, so I've got loose skin on my arms. Certainly got loose skin on my face. I've got quite a bit down the side. I've got loose skin on my hips. Don't get me wrong, I'm fully aware I've still got some body fat that's sat in my loose skin here. Inside of my thighs, I've got some loose skin. A little bit on my calves. My calves aren't too bad. The lower of my back's really bad, and my hips and my bum. That's probably where I've got the biggest concentration still. So it's would I have any more surgeries done? I haven't decided yet. It's all down to money, of course, cost. I did speak to my surgeon that did my fleur-de-lis last year and inquired about, because he gave me a price. When I had my fleur-de-lis in 2019, my hips and my back would have been then, I think he said it was 6.5 to have that done. I did inquire and he said he'd do it for 8.5 now. So obviously prices have shot up a little bit. But I've come to terms a lot more now with my loose skin. The bits that really bothered me, which was my chest, right? I've obviously had that done, and my stomach, that's been done. The rest of it, I mean, obviously the back of me. I can't really see it anyway. But you just come to terms with it, you know. You just come to terms with it. It's kind of at first, the first 2-3 years of my weight loss journey, it did affect me, and I was desperate to get it all done. But that's because I just wasn't used to it. Now I'm used to it. It's just part of me. It's like, when I was 37 stone, it didn't disgust me what I saw in the mirror that much. I didn't like it. And I didn't like myself in clothes, but you just get used to yourself that much. You don't see yourself anymore. You don't see yourself as other people might see you, because you just get used to it. So I've just got used to kind of my loose skin. If my loose skin ever causes me any health complications down the line, like because it can thin, it can tear and stuff like that, then I would have it. I would definitely have it done. But my next mission now is knees. I want 2 new knees, hoping to get them done on the NHS. Can't see it being a major issue, because the NHS have been very good with me. And don't get me wrong, things are a little bit different now than a few years ago, especially after COVID and different, things that have come about. But the NHS, are still very much what the NHS tend to do with surgeries and things like that. They sort of look at things and go, what's going to cost us more in the long run? That's what they did with so I paid for my chest. That was about 5,000 quid. But my fleur-de-lis, my stomach, was done on the NHS. And it was causing me quite a few issues. I had a lot of scar tissue from pressure sores from when I was 37 stone, and they'd still split and get infected and cause me quite a lot of issues. And basically the NHS sort of said, these issues are going to cost us more in the long run than cutting off. Now, I did inquire when I was having my fleur-de-lis, could I have a 360 and pay the top up? And the NHS were like, no. So, I asked them, would you do the 360? And again, the NHS was like, no. So 360 is they take the full band out. Like, if you think of like a thick belt, right? And then basically they pull this bit down and they pull where my bottom is up, as it were, and then stitch it. So I just have one ring of a scar, and that tighten up your body more. But they were like, no, we will just do the bare minimum, which is take out the area that's causing you the issues, which was this sort of bit above my kind of just below my belly button, above my groin area. And that's why they did the fleur-de-lis. So, it is what it is. And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that they did that for me on the NHS, and it has changed my life, and it was fantastic, You've done amazing. Big respect to you. Thank you very much. Looking at Lena, I haven't seen you in lives for a while. Yeah, I'm doing all right at the moment. I am. I'm about. I've had another check-in this week, and I'm another, I think, couple of pounds down. So let me just put that into my progress sheet. Where are we at the moment? Yeah, so I think I've lost 1.8. Yes, I have 54.4 minus 1.8, which would be 252.6. So that is actually has me down pretty much at heck, I've put in 152. I was like, flipping heck, I've dropped some weight there. So that has me pretty much at 2 stone fat loss since the 1st of January. And I am in total about 36 pounds down. About 36 pounds down in weight because I had a bit of a whoosh before Christmas. So, and in total from the beginning of January last year, I'm about 3 stone in body fat down in like 18 months, which isn't a massive period of time. I did really well last year, January, February, March, April, and then I kind of sort of maintained them for the rest of the year. But this year I've been a lot more on it, I'm 5'7". Right, is that in relation? Sorry, Matty Matty and Mummy. Do you teach much or draft plans for muscle building? No, I'm a weight loss coach. Don't get me wrong, I'm a personal trainer. And I have done, I've worked as a full-time personal trainer, and people that came to me for personal training, I'd work with them to build muscle. But in terms of my online, the Real Loss Boss business, I'm a weight loss coach. Now, don't get me wrong. Can you lose weight and build muscle at the same time? Of course you can. Absolutely. I have done. I would say I've been on this journey 11 years, and I would say out of the last 11 years, I've been in a calorie deficit for 9 of those years, and I've built muscle. So yeah, absolutely. You can, but and I do have some workouts, but I don't. If you want to build muscle, it all depends where you are with your journey, but if you really want to build a decent amount of muscle while being in a calorie deficit, it is a lot more. There would be a little bit more programming involved. You would need to look at some certain macros and this, that, and the other. And I don't want to overcomplicate that. I just want to concentrate on doing one thing, and that's get people to lose weight, right? And don't get me wrong, if you then are like, right, I do have quite a few clients that work with me for their calories and their nutrition and their weight loss, and then they go to a personal trainer and work with them to learn how to lift weights in the gym and put gym routines together. And that personal trainer, I don't give out specific numbers for protein, but that personal trainer might give them a protein goal. I don't know. They've never told me that. But, I always think you need one main goal, right? I generally do. So can you build muscle and lose weight at the same time? Of course you can. But, what is your main goal? Weight loss, right? Well, let's concentrate on that, right? Go to the gym, lift weights, work on having a high protein diet, and you'll change your physique, you'll change your body composition. But then when you might get to a point where, and you might not even be at your weight loss goal, but you might get to a point where you're like, do you know what? I need an extended break from weight loss. I want to take 6 months off, and I just want to concentrate on my nutrition and my training. Right? Well, that's when, your goal then might switch from weight loss to muscle building. Now, just because it switches from weight loss to muscle building, it doesn't mean you should be gaining loads of weight. You don't need to go into a bulk, as they call it, for muscle building. You still have weight. You still get excess energy stored in your body. You can still build muscle within a calorie deficit, but your goals might be slightly different. And then you might prioritize hitting a protein goal, rather than aiming at purely a calorie goal, But I think it's very much one of them. I always, and again, the clients that I tend to work with, is a different clientele to like what might be for muscle building, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't want to become a jack of all trades. I just want to specialize in one thing. So if I got someone that come to me and said, yeah, I'm currently 11 stone, and my main goal is to build muscle, but I'd like to lose some fat while building muscle, I would say, well, go to maybe what you might class as a fat loss coach or a physique coach or something like that. They'll charge you way more money than I will because there's a lot more programming involved. You might get a new gym plan once a month or once every couple of weeks. They'll tweak macros. You might check in weekly rather than fortnightly with me because we just want to keep an eye on things a little bit. And I want you to tell me how your training's going, any injuries you might have occurred, any aches and pains that you've got. And really, you're probably going to be paying £150 a month rather than £30 a month than you pay with me. Does that kind of make sense? My focus is body composition with a heavy emphasis on weight loss because a lot of people on MJ. Right. So again, you kind of like, you put a heavy emphasis on weight loss. If your heavy emphasis is on weight loss, that is your goal. That should be your main goal. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I say, you can change your body composition, but you need to have one main goal. So is your main goal changing and don't get me wrong, weight loss changes your body composition, but what we would class as body composition is more, I'm doing something for what I see in the mirror. I'm not doing something for my overall health, for improving my, this is just my philosophies, right? Now, can you get some people that, the first 4 years of my weight loss journey, I went to a gym, I trained, I lifted weights, I built muscle, but it was never my main focus, right? And then in 2017, I decided I wanted to become a personal trainer. And then my main focus was going and learning properly how to lift weights, how to put routines together. And that's when my focus shifted, right? And then I concentrated more on building muscle, working on my body, rather than weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, right? So, but I've always had one main focus. And when I've switched one main focus, I've put the other not to the background. I don't know how to explain it, but this is just for me personally because too many people overcomplicate things. I have clients that come on board and they might go and work with a fat loss coach, a physique coach, or whatever, and I'm like, I'm struggling to get clients to control their calorie intake, sticking to one number. If you then go to someone who goes, right, you need to eat this many calories, this many carbs, this much protein, this much fat, you need to do this in the gym, you need to do this, it's just too overwhelming. It's too mind blowing. And again, it also depends where you are at on your journey, where you're at on your journey. Again, that's just my philosophies. You might be like, no, you're on that hill. I think I can get absolutely, change the total composition of my body and lose 8 stone at the same time and do this and do that. And if that's you as a person, you can focus on so many things all in one thing, then go for it, But over my experience as a coach, I've had so many clients over the years come to me and they're just like, oh, well, I was just really struggling because I was good at calorie counting, but then my coach was always like, you're not eating your protein every week. And I'm like, yeah, but then when I try and hit my protein, my calories go over. And it's like, and then and I'm just like, exactly. It's just too complicated, right? Go to the gym, lift weights, enjoy it. Work on having a high protein diet. You don't need to stick to a specific number. Just prioritize protein when you're having your main meals, right? Concentrate on your calories. Right, 3 years down the line, you might be 10 stone lighter. And when you get to that, your priorities might shift a little bit. And you're like, you know what? I actually want to be 10 stone, but I'm 12 stone. Right. And I'm actually really happy with where I'm at in terms of my weight. But now I think this is where I do fancy. I've counted calories for years, so it's very subconscious. So it's not something I need to put loads of effort into. I feel that I can count calories and maybe look at another number at the same time. Right. Well, then we might put you into a protein goal, Do you find as a weight loss coach that once people get to goal, they're still not happy with body composition? Yes and no. I tend to find what a lot of people do is they chase numbers on the scales. So it's not about being happy with body composition. They're just unhappy, right? So people might be like, they might be unhappy at 20 stone. And they're like, I'm just really unhappy because I'm overweight. Like, right? And what's your goal weight? 11 stone. They get to 11 stone and they're still unhappy. And then they'll go, right, well, I want to be 10 stone. And then they'll get to 10 stone and they're still unhappy. And then they'll go, right, well, maybe I need to be 9 stone. And they get to 9 stone and they're still unhappy. And then it's like, maybe it's not your weight why you're unhappy. Maybe you just always associated being unhappy because you're overweight. Maybe there's other things at play. So, yeah, it's not about like, look, at the end of the day, we can, weight loss generally changes your body shape. It changes things. Does weight loss make you look any better? Certainly unclothed. No, depending on how obese you were. I hated myself 2-3 years into my weight loss journey because of how much loose skin I had. Now, like I say, that's just something I wasn't used to. And don't get me wrong, I'd much rather have tons of loose skin than go back to being 37 stone. But, I think a lot of people do think that, weight loss will make me happy with what I see in the mirror. And sometimes it doesn't. But again, a lot of people think that people are losing weight purely for vanity. And I try and and that's what body composition is. And I try and get people away from that mindset. Why you're losing weight is you want to see your grandkids grow up, right? You want to see your kids grow up. You want to be there for your children. You want to play with them in a park, right? You want to be, when your kids are like, Mum, it's egg and spoon race, or Dad, it's the sack race at school. You want to be able to go, and go and get involved in things like that. That's why I want people to lose weight. Don't get me wrong, vanity is always going to play a part in it. But unfortunately, too many people put vanity as their number one priority for weight loss, when really the number one priority for weight loss should be improving your life, right? It should be, like I say, being able to play with your kids in the park. It should be being able to go on holiday and jump in and out the pool with them. It should be just being able to take them for walking to school and back. right? It should be being able to, set examples for your children so your children don't end up with the same weight issues that you might have, right? Those should always be the priorities for weight loss. It should be, I don't want to get to 50 or 60 and worry about heart disease. I don't want to get to 65 and have to have stents put in my arteries, right? I don't want to get to, you know, um, 50 years of age and because of the way I've lived my lifestyle, like I say, not be able to see my grandchildren grow up. That is why we should be losing weight. Whereas too many people are literally, I want to lose weight because I want to wear a size 10 instead of a 12. I want to look in the mirror and see this. So again, my job as a coach is I'm always very, very open with my clients that, what does your obesity stop you doing, or what does your weight issue stop you doing? Are you just existing, or are you actually living life, right? And whether you're a size 10 or a size 12 doesn't make a jot of difference. You go to River Island this afternoon and pick up a size 12. Whether you get into those jeans, you get into size 10 jeans, you pay the same money. It's not like a size 20 is 20 quid and a size 18 is £18. And when you get to a size 10, it's half the price. It's not. Clothes are the same price, right? I'm wearing a fitted North Face like performance gym top here, right? And this is a 2XL top, right? And a small, which is probably half the size of this because I'm a 48, 50 inch chest, right? A small is half size. Still 35 quid. This is £35. It's still 35. So it doesn't make a difference to my bank balance being a small rather than a 2XL. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make any difference to my life. What the difference is should be how you're feeling, your health, right? Not what you see in the mirror. And a lot of people get wrapped up. And a lot of people want six packs. Most people that have six packs have eating disorders, right? They have disordered eating patterns, right? And it's not healthy. Being lean isn't healthy. You need at least, male or female, you want at least 20% body fat, right? But then so many people got a little tummy. How do I get rid of it? You don't. You need that. It's how you regulate your hormones. As a female, it protects your womb. It regulates the temperature of your womb. Having that little bump there makes it miles easier to conceive than someone that is lean. I've worked with loads of people in the past that have been ridiculously lean. I've spoke to loads of people in the past that are honest. They might not be honest on social media because they don't want people to understand the negative impacts. But, I used to be really good friends with a girl in the gym who was a bikini competitor, right? And she spent most of her life in a very lean state, competing on stage, and she loved it, and that was her thing. But she never had periods through it because she was so lean. Her hormone regulation was all over the place, right? And she's given it up now because she wanted to have children. But if you think whether you're so lean or so overweight, your hormone imbalance is that you don't have regular periods, that isn't good. That isn't good. That's not healthy, So there's lots of things to look at. But vanity should never be your number one reason for weight loss. Will it play a part? Of course it will play a part. And I'd be stupid to sit and go, it doesn't play a part, but it shouldn't be number one. Yeah, it should be your overall health. Yeah, and your improvements that you'll get in life. Does that make sense? You are so on it this morning. I feel told off, and do you know what? I'm not telling anyone off. I just think it's, yeah. It's just important to understand these things. And I like it when I get these lives because it does make me go off on different tangents and talk about different things. But I think it's important for people to hear them. And that's why I never plan these sort of things because, and I just hope when I talk honestly. And I'm never judgy. I don't want anyone to think I judge, but I don't judge anyone. Who am I to judge anyone? I used to be 37, so I'm struggling my weight all my life, But I've been down that route where I thought the main reason I wanted to lose weight was for vanity, and it wasn't. The non-scale victories of actually being able to get out of bed every day without worrying, that's been worth more than how I look in the mirror. Being able to actually live life and go traveling and just being able to walk my dogs and stuff is worth more than anything that I see in the mirror. Yeah. Rich Cousins, great, simple pudding stroke sweet treat. Had to share. Love your content. Thank you very much, Rich. 253 grams of Greek yogurt. That's a lot of Greek yogurt. 30 grams scoop of vanilla protein. 1 tablespoon heaped pistachio cream spread. Give it a mix. Sounds good. Sounds very simple, very straightforward, very similar to one of my yogurt bowls. But yeah, sounds like I love potatoes. I know there's like this big trend at the moment, the Dubai chocolate and pistachio. I just love the flavour of it. It's absolutely fantastic. And during my period, and my weight loss has stopped for a week, so demoralising, even though I don't know. Your fat loss has not stopped for a week, Kat. Your weight loss might have done. Why would weight loss stop when you're on your period and not fat loss? Fat loss is simply determined by calories in and out. Whether you're on your period or not, if you stick to your calorie allowance that puts you into a calorie deficit, you will continuously lose body fat. What happens is when your period hits is very, very common. You get some bloating and your water retention will increase. So if you're in a 500 calorie a day deficit on average, 3,500 calories over a week, and it's your period, you will still lose 1 pound of body fat. But because of your period, you might gain 3 pounds of water retention, right? Because of a bit of a bloat in your midsection. So lose 1 pound of body fat, gain 3 pounds of water retention. The scales might show an increase of 2 pounds, but you've still lost body fat, right? And consistent weight loss is about consistent fat loss. Now, a few days later, when your period has ended and you carry on, that bloat will disappear. You'll probably pee out your excess water retention. And the next time you weigh after your period, right, you might then see a 4 pound loss. So you might see a 2 pound gain one way, 4 pound loss the next way. Average over a few weeks is a pound, over a couple of weeks is a pound a week loss, and everything's good. So your period will never stop your fat loss, but it might stop seeing weight loss on the scales. Because remember, your scales show your weight, they do not show your fat. When you get on a set of scales, it weighs any clothes you are wearing, it weighs your bones, it weighs all your organs, it weighs your skin, right? It weighs any food that is currently sat in your tummy, any semi-digested food that's in your small intestine, in your large intestine, any feces that's in your bowel. All that is weighed when you get on a set of scales. And at different points in time, the amount, the clothes you wear might be different. Now, we know that because we can see it. But things that change on a day-to-day basis in the body is the amount of undigested food in your stomach, the amount of semi-digested food in your small intestine and large intestine, the amount of feces that is in your bowel. That changes on a day-to-day basis, and that causes fluctuations on the scales. What changes on a day-to-day basis is the amount of excess water retention in your body. On average, 60% of the human body is water, right? But one day, you might not be 60% water, you might be 61% water, and that extra 1% will show on the scales, right? Likewise, excess water weight. You've always got a certain amount of water sat in your stomach. You've always got a certain amount of water filtering through your kidneys. You've also got a certain amount of water stored as urine in your bladder. That changes on a day-to-day basis, and that causes daily fluctuations on the scales, right? So scales can fluctuate all the time, which is why it's so important not to demonize single weigh-ins. Weighing at any point on the scales is just registering a number on a certain day. What you do is you look at weight over time. What have the scales done over the last? It doesn't matter what they've done in between. What did you weigh on the 1st of April? What did you weigh on the 1st of June? On the 1st of April, I weighed 260 pounds. On the 1st of June, I weighed 250 pounds. Irrelevant of what happened in between, all these little fluctuations, for whatever reason, you are 10 pounds down over 8 weeks. You've averaged 1.2 pounds of weight loss a week. Everything's good. Yeah, does that make sense? Right, I'm out of here. It's been a pleasure as always. I've got to go. It's 20 past 12. I thought I was hungry. I'm like, what's going on after well over an hour? And I've got a load of check-ins to do, and the sun is shining, and I wouldn't mind half an hour in the garden just to top the old tan up. Obviously, vanity is not a part of weight loss, but sometimes going on holiday, putting your base layer on. I always say this, a cooked chicken looks miles better than a raw chicken, and I would like to be a cooked chicken when I get to Spain, and I'll be a fully burnt chicken. Now, look after your skin, kids. I will wear me factor 30. Don't worry about that. Right, I've got to go. It's been a pleasure as always. I might try and get back on. These aren't set in stone, to be honest with you. I'm going to stop it. But I'll see how the day goes, see how I get on with my check-ins, see how things go. I might try and get back on about 5 o'clock for a little half-hour, hello, sign-off for the weekend. If I don't get back on at 5 o'clock for a little sign-off for the weekend, this is the sign-off for the weekend, and I'll be back Monday morning at 8:30. So if I don't see you later on, have an absolutely amazing weekend, and we'll see you back Monday morning, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube for a new Weight Loss Week live. Right, I'll sign off to you, TikTok. Great live today. Thank you very much for coming on and interacting. And if you do want to get on plan, join the community, TikTok profile, Facebook page, YouTube page, come and get on board. You supporting me and coming on board allows me to keep doing all the free lives and keep doing this, that, and the other. Because if you didn't, I'd have to go and get a full-time job. A paid full-time job. This is a full-time job, by the way, just in case people like that. But anyway, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be able to do these lives because I'd be 9 to 5 in an office somewhere. So thank you very much for supporting me. And obviously, I fully understand not everyone can afford to come and support and be on board and this and that. But if you are struggling, there's no need to struggle. Come see me and I will give you the help that you need. TikTok, I'm out of here. I will see you definitely on Monday, maybe a little bit later. And you lovely people over here on Facebook, YouTube. Yep. If I don't see you later on, I will see you on Monday morning.